Hello everyone, this is Lord Kurnion, and I am here with round 3 of Brawler Bash that took place in North Carolina in the beginning of March. I know it is now May. I'm working on it. So here is my list if you haven't seen it before, and here is my opponent's list. He had a Tyrant with Greedy Fist. He had the armor of -1 to hit and some other stuff. I forget the exact list. I don't have a copy of it, but I'm just going to put down what I remember. He had a Slaughtermaster level 4 Maw. He had a Fire Belly level 2 Fire. He had a Bruiser BSB, 9 Bulls full command, 7 Guts full command, 3 Bulls with a banner. He had also had a unit of 3 Man-Eaters and a unit of 4 Man-Eaters. I forget exactly what they had. But it didn't play a huge role. He then had a unit of 6 Lead Belchers, a unit of 3 Yetis, 2 Solo Saber Tusks, and a Gorger. If this list looks somewhat familiar, it's because this game I was playing Materim, so I was able to draw up against him this round. So it was an interesting scenario, this one. This is the one that Materim focused a lot on, and I played a couple practice games of this, because this is a really weird scenario. So there's a Leprechaun in the middle of the table. Every turn, at the end of every game turn, he casts the final transmutation spell on every unit within 6 inches. But this spell does not cause stupidity. That was the only modification to the spell, because otherwise things got kind of crazy. If you had 1 or more units with Fortitude within 6 inches, you get plus 100 victory points. It's not 100 per unit, it's 100 per Fortitude, or it's 100 total if you have Fortitude in that 6-inch bubble. And then at the end of the game, if you have the largest unit by model count within 6 inches of the Leprechaun, you get a bonus 300 victory points. So there's up to 900 points available from this scenario, and you just have to sacrifice a unit for it. So both of us had our unit of choice that we were just going to put in the middle. He put a unit of Bulls with a banner. I put my unit of Marauders. And we basically just, our plan was kind of like before the game, we had a gentleman's agreement of like, hey, I'm not going to shoot at you if you don't shoot at me. It's like, sounds good. So yeah, neither of us were going to be targeting the other person, just let it get final transed off over a period of a couple turns. And we're both going to get probably max points for both units anyway, so see how many points we can get. So here's my opponent's deployment going left to right. He has his unit of Bulls. In front of them is the unit of Man-Eaters, his unit of 3. Next to them he has a unit of Iron Guts, and in the Iron Guts he has his BSB and his Tyrant. In the Bulls, he has a Slaughtermaster and his Fire Belly, both in that unit. In front of the Iron Guts, he has his Yetis. Behind that big hill, he has his, what are they called? Lead Belchers. Next to the Lead Belchers, he has, it looks like his unit of 4 Man-Eaters. In front of them is a Solar Saber Tusk. Next to them, pretty much in the middle of the board, he has his unit of 3 Bulls with the banner. And then over here on the far flank, he has his 2nd Saber Tusk. So he really castled over to what is my left side, trying to prevent me from turning, trying to prevent me from getting around him entirely. This, I was actually pretty happy with his deployment, with the way it went, because it kind of gives me an opportunity to pin him up against the board edge and get really easy for me to turn his flank. I just need to break through his Lead Belchers and his Man-Eaters, and once I do that, I have a really easy job turning his flank of his 2 big units. So I was pretty happy that he chose to castle in that corner. So in response to that, I have both of my here on going my side left to right. He has a Hell Cannon, a Skull Cannon, a Hell Cannon, my Minotaur, my Chariot. Behind them is my Nurgle Ogres. Next to them is my Warriors. Behind that is my Skull Cannon and my General. Next to my Warriors, I have my BSB. Next to them, I have my Marauders, aiming to march up into that 6-inch bubble of the Leprechaun. And then in the back of the board, I have my Harpies, which were my Furies, rather, which were my first choice. He also has a Gorger, which is up on top of the building, so he doesn't forget about it, understandably so. So he's going to roll for that in the future. He'll come back on briefly. So we go to Ogre's turn 1. Oh yeah, and also another comment. I'm trying out a bunch of different formats for battle reports. Just tell me what you guys like and what you prefer. Just post in the comments below. I decided to have a turn break slide instead of having Ogre turn 1 in the top corner or something. I just think it'd be cleaner to have it this way. It's also a lot faster for me to produce it this way. So anyway, he gets turn 1. So he moves up somewhat conservatively. His Man-Eaters move up. His Yetis move up. All of his units move up. Really nothing else to say about that. His Bulls move into the 6-inch bubble, which is understandable. And this is showing something. Oh, he shot with his Lead Belchers at my Warriors, and he killed a handful. I think he killed like I guess it looks like he killed 4 or something like that. So he chipped away at them a little bit. And we go to Chaos turn 1. His magic really didn't do much. So we go to Chaos turn 1. My cannons passed the Angry Cannon test. Yay! So they didn't move. Instead, they're going to shoot. And then I just kind of moved up around. My Demon Prince moved over here, over to the left flank to line up against his bulls. My Minotaur kind of jumped back a little bit. Harpies or Furies came over into position, and otherwise my Nurgle Ogres and my Warriors pushed up to kind of start to turn his flank, like I said I wanted to. My BSB got into a short charge range of his Lead Belchers and his Man-Eaters, depending on what happens. And my Chariot also lined up there as well. My Marauders also moved up into the 6-inch bubble as well to take some final trans from the Mr. Leprechaun. My BSB is out of range. I measured it out, so he's out of the 6-inch bubble because I really don't want him turning into golden statue. So we go to magic phase. I started off with slicing shards of Slaanesh on his Sabertusk. He let it go. Slicing shards is if you fail a leadership test, you keep taking d6 hits. So I figured it's kind of it's almost an auto kill Sabertusk spell. So I did kill the Sabertusk, and then he failed his panic test. So his unit that he wanted to eat the final trans fled out of the bubble. So I felt kind of bad for that. But yeah, I mean, he had to have known I was going to target his Sabertusk. I mean, there's no way I'm letting them get around. They were going to be a pretty big target of spells or cannons or something. So, I mean, I think he made a mistake here by putting it in the 6-inch range. I wasn't trying to panic them, but sometimes stuff happens, and in this case, he got the worst end of bad luck. Shooting, also in Magic, I put Acquiescence on his Yetis, so they have random move d6 to kind of prevent them from moving and to tie up his unit of Iron Guts. Shooting, my Hell Cannon here fired and misfire 1, so he blew up. Otherwise, I tried to put 2 Hell Cannons on top of these Man-Eaters, and both of them scattered off. The other Hell Cannon also misfire. No, he did some wounds to something. And so we go to the end of the player turn, and we have the final trans gets cast on my Marauders, and yeah, it kills over half of the unit. So it was pretty aggressive first final trans cast. He rolled pretty well for that. So we go to Ogre's turn 2, and he starts off with a charge from his Man-Eaters into my Hell Cannon. Otherwise, everything kind of moves up. His Yetis did the random movement directly to the side, and he rolled a 6, so he was able to get the Yetis out of the way of his Iron Guts. So they are pointing directly 90 degrees to the right. And otherwise, everything moves up. The Lead Belchers moved up, the Man-Eaters moved up, everything. His Ogre Bulls rallied. And in combat, so my other Hell Cannon must have shot at these Man-Eaters, and I killed 1. So there's that. So in combat, I did a wound to his Man-Eaters. He did a wound to me. He won by charge. I'm unbreakable and don't care. So we go right into Chaos turn 2. So this is, I started off this turn with a bunch of charges. I really wanted to charge past those Yetis and into the Lead Belchers. And I want to get a combo charge. Basically, my logic is if I take care of the Yetis over into the Lead Belchers, then I'm in a position where I can reform after killing the Lead Belchers, and I'm facing the flank of his Iron Guts, and that'll be really easy for me to set up a combo charge the following turn. So I charged both my Warriors and my Ogres into that unit. I figured I'd stack the odds. The Warriors needed like an 8. The Ogres also needed an 8. I figured by charging 2, I should get 1. But I ended up failing both, which is really unfortunate. My BSB, though, to kind of complete the charge cascade, he charged into the Lead Belchers. So the logic was obviously either my Warriors or my Nurgle Ogres charge into the Yetis, beat them over onto the Lead Belchers. Between my Lead Belchers and my BSB, I kill the Lead. Between my Warriors and my BSB, I kill the Lead Belchers, and then everything can reform to face the flank of his Iron Guts. That was the logic, but unfortunately the failed charge really kind of prevented that, which is unfortunate. Otherwise, they just moved up from the failed charge. My Minotaur comes back over here towards this side. My General does as well, and my Chariot kind of moves up to line up charges on his Man-Eaters if he decides to countercharge me. And then I move these Furies up to chaff both his Ogre Bulls and his Iron Guts. Cool. So shooting phase, I landed a hell blast, or the hell cannon, the one that could shoot, landed directly on top of the Minotaur on these man-eaters, and I got a direct hit. I did enough to kill 2. And yeah, so I killed 2, and they failed their panic and started running, which yeah, is a little unfortunate, but I mean, with ogres, it's kind of to be expected. They really have low leadership. You really kind of need to make sure you pack them in that leadership bubble. My hell cannon that was still alive took a line on these yetis. Now that the yetis weren't in combat, I figured they're flammable, so I just need to roll, if I hit them all, I just need to roll a 2 or above, and it multiplies, since they're flammable, multiplies by 2, and I would do 4 wounds. So I hit the first yeti, I wound it, but I only roll 1 for number of wounds, so I didn't bounce through to hit the second one, which is unfortunate. Well, what can you do? Here in combat, I did a lot of wounds. I did 2 more. He did 1 to me. I won combat. He broke, and I couldn't run him down. And then we go to the final transcasting. 8 gets cast on these guys, and they take another 3 casualties. But I get another 100 points, so yay! Ogre's turn 3, so he countercharged here with his Ogre Bulls that had rallied into the flank of my BSB. He tried to charge the Yetis initially, but I pointed out to him, I mean, I think it's pretty clear from this image that he cannot make the wheel at the moment in order to close the door. He had some contention with that. We had a bit of a disagreement, but I was like, look, you can't wheel. You move 90 degrees to the east. Eventually he conceded it. I'm not sure if that's because he agreed with me or because he's just like, it doesn't matter because Yetis aren't going to do anything to my BSB. And he's not exactly adding much combat res since the bulls are charging the flank. But anyway, that's how it is. Both of these units charged into my Furies, hoping to overrun into something of import. The man-eater that fled had rallied. These man-eaters, however, did not rally and kept running towards the board edge. And his Gorger showed up. So we go to Magic Phase, and he gets a pretty big phase. He gets off Troll Guts this phase. I saved a lot. He didn't. It was a pretty low phase. It was something like 6 to 4 or something like that. Or no, I think it was even lower than that. It was like 5 to 3. And neither of us channeled. He was able to throw his 5 at the bubble Troll Guts and got it off, and I couldn't dispel it with my 3 dice. Oh well. Combat here, my BSB doesn't take any wounds. He kills 1 lead belcher straight ahead and does a couple wounds to the one on the flank. I split my attacks with my mount going one way and my BSB going to the other, and they both were able to do a couple wounds. So there is that. So we go to Chaos turn 3. After he killed my Furies, he overran with the Bulls into my Hell Cannon. So I piled into that unit. I threw my Minotaur in the flank and my Hell Cannon into the front. My Nurgle Ogres and my General charged into the front of his Iron Guts, and my Warriors, deciding to complete the charge that they failed to do last turn, they decided to charge into these Yetis. The idea is they'll overrun into the Lead Belchers, and then as long as my General and my Nurgle Ogres survive 2 rounds, they'll be able to come in and pile into the flank. The Chariot that was also on that side of the board charged into the flank of his Bulls that were fighting my BSB. And then this cannon failed the Angry Cannon test, and he careens into the Gorger behind him, which was pretty awesome. I mean, this cannon, this Hell Cannon in particular, keeps failing his Angry Cannon test and charging off into things. This is the same one that failed and killed the Ripperdactyls, and now it's doing it again, charging into his Gorger. So apparently this cannon is particularly angry. Magic was uneventful. I didn't get anything off. My magic phases have been pretty terrible. Well, at least my casting dice have been pretty terrible all tournament. I really haven't gotten off many spells. The 2 spells I got off last turn, I think, were the only 2 I got off all game. Yeah, those are the only 2 spells I got off all game. So nothing happened in my magic phase. I either failed to cast or he dispelled it. We go to combat here, and yeah, I win combat. The Warriors beat the... This is a better picture of it. The Warriors beat the Yetis, overrun into the Bulls. I then beat the Bulls, and the Lead Belchers. I try to restrain my BSB. I'm an 8 rerollable. I fail both. He has to chase, and he fails to catch them even. These Ogre Bulls that were on the flank of my BSB also broke, and my Chariot was able to chase them down. So at least there's that. In combat here, he had Troll Guts up. So he cut his number of wounds in half, which is a little unfortunate. But I was still able to do 9 wounds between everything, between my Ogre impact hits and all my attacks. He was only able to do 9 back to me. I win by charge. He's not stubborn. He doesn't have the stubborn crown, but he is steadfast. So I was only a couple wounds away. If I had stopped Troll Guts last turn, if he had a bit more of a balanced magic phase, and I actually had enough dice to stop him, he would have taken a lot more wounds, and I would have broken this unit right here. But, oh well, what can you do? His Tyrant dispatched my unit champion in my Ogres, though. That was 3 of his wounds. And, yeah, so I won combat, but he stood because Troll Guts kept him steadfast. Here, I did a couple wounds, not much. He did a couple more to my Hell Cannon. And, yeah, I mean, that's basically how it ended. I won combat, so my Minotaur gained an extra attack, but he stood, because he's definitely steadfast here. There's no argument there. Here, we had a slap fight. No wounds were done. I won by charge. We're both unbreakable. No one cares. Ogre turn 4. So his Minotaur, or his Maneater that had rallied, charged back into my Hell Cannon. Apparently he wants another piece. And otherwise, these Maneaters finally rallied. So there's that. They're kind of hanging out on the board edge. And his Lead Belchers also rallied. So we go to combat. His Maneater is able to do the last wound to my Hell Cannon. And yeah, my Minotaur kills another couple wounds. He still has Troll Guts up, so I'm not doing nearly as many wounds as I should be doing. But what can you do? I killed another 2 Ogres. I believe I won combat again. But he's still steadfast. He stood. His Maneater overran, though, after killing the Hell Cannon towards my second Hell Cannon. In the other combat, I'm in combat. His Tyrant challenges again. I have to accept now with my General, which is unfortunate. So he has Greedy Fist. So he rolled his 5 hits, and he hit all 5, which, yeah, sucks. So I lost all of my levels, which is a little crappy. Otherwise, I did a couple wounds to his unit. He really didn't do much back to me. We won combat, or I think he won combat, but I stood. Yeah, that's what happened. So we get a Chaos turn 4. My Warriors now joined the unit, turn late and $1 short, but they're joining anyway, into this unit of Iron Guts. And yeah, otherwise my BSB, I kind of figured he wouldn't be able to get around to charge into this unit to help out anytime soon, so I charged him back into the Lead Belt, just trying to get some points somewhere. And yes, we go to combat. Not much happened in terms of combat. I think he did a wound or so to my General. Did another couple wounds to my Nurgle Ogres. Did a couple wounds to my Warriors. I did a couple more. I think I did 3 wounds to him. So it was, I mean, the combat wasn't dramatic one way or the other. I think he might have, one of us won by 1 or 2, but we both stuck around, so that was fine. In the combat against the Bulls, he kills the Hell Cannon, or the Skull Cannon rather, and he reforms to face the front of my Minotaur. And then my Hell Cannon finally decides to stop whiffing and kills the Gorger. So that was nice. And we go to Ogre turn 5. So his Maneater that had killed my Hell Cannon the previous turn charges into the flank of my Hell Cannon that just killed his Gorger. And oh, right, this was another phase. So he got off he got a decent phase. I was letting everything go to save it up for Troll Guts, because I think I need to stop Troll Guts. I need to stop Troll Guts. I need to stop Troll Guts. So I let through the +1 strength spell. It's like, all right, whatever. He cast it in a bubble. It hit everybody. All right, I mean, not ideal, but what can you do? I need to stop Troll Guts. And then he got Troll Guts up anyway. So that sucks. Combat otherwise really wasn't that eventful. He did a couple wounds to my Minotaur, not much. I did a couple more wounds to his unit up top, but really not much was happening. And yeah, I don't know why I put the explosion there, but I did. So what can you do? Oh, and last turn, yeah, he killed his Tyrant, got a bunch more hits again this turn. I failed a bunch of my armor saves, failed all of my wards, and my General went down. It's like, oh, kidding me. So that's really unfortunate. So we go into Chaos turn 5. There's really not much going on here. There's really not much left on the table anywhere. I still have a couple of Marauders alive that are eating final trans every turn. I'm just not getting pictures of them. They still have, like, I think 2 left. So we go to combat. I do 2 wounds with my Nurgle Ogre to his unit champ, and I do 2 wounds to his BSB from my warriors. Otherwise, everything stuck around. And here, yeah, my Hell Cannon smacks down his Man-Eaters. Really not that surprising. And then here, my Minotaur whiffed completely, like completely whiffed. I was up to 8 attacks now. I was hitting on 3s. I was wounding on 2s. He had Troll Guts up, though, and I think I hit twice. I wounded once, and he regented. I did not a single wound to anything with my Minotaur. He won by banner and rank. I failed my break test, and he ran me down. At the end of combat here, he killed the rest of my warriors, put 2 wounds on my Nurgle Ogre, but somehow I stuck around. You can also see in my movement phase, I whipped my BSB around to face the flank of the Iron Guts after my BSB dispatched his Lead Belchers. So this is the last slide of the thing. My camera had died, and so did my phone, interestingly enough. So I had no means of taking pictures after this. But basically what happened is, well, in my turn, well, in his turn, he had top of turn 6. He moved his bowls up full steam to try to get in the 6-inch bubble, but he wasn't able to. He was just outside the 6-inch bubble, so he wasn't able to get any points for that. And he can't be in range to get the 300 points at the end of the tournament, at the end of the game, for most model count within 6 inches of the Leprechaun. So we can't do anything there. But so my Marauders should be getting the points for that. But then his magic phase happened, and this just really rubbed me the wrong way. As I said, we had a gentleman's agreement that we weren't going to target his Marauders. I felt really bad that his Ogre Bulls failed Panic the first turn and ran out of the bubble. That wasn't my intention. I just wanted to kill a Sabertusk. But, you know, it happened. I mean, there was, you know, nothing I could do about him failing a Panic test. I mean, it's tactically important for me to get rid of his Sabertusk. So we had a gentleman's agreement that we weren't going to be targeting the other person's unit within 6 inches of the Leprechaun. But then in his magic phase, he threw a fireball at this unit, and he killed them. And that just really rubbed me the wrong way. The whole mentality of this tournament, as stated by the tournament organizer, was that it's not the intention of it, of the comp and the scoring system and the scenario objectives, is to not make a situation where you're not points denying your opponent, and make it so you're both killing everything, and you, in the perfect world, you know, try to maximize your points while also not screwing your opponent out of points, and, you know, happily trade for unit. Like on other tables, for Malasar in one round, his opponent reformed his unit of halberders into a 4-wide formation and let him charge his Frostheart into it, so that obviously the halberders are no longer steadfast, they don't have a rank of 5, so they flee off the table. Like, that's the type of stuff that was happening on other tables. Meanwhile, my opponent is casting a fireball at 2 Marauders. That's all I have left, 2 Marauders, and trying to clear these points for a net gain of, like, I think he gets an extra 40 points out of this unit by doing that, whereas there's a 70-point chariot sitting right next to them that's worth way more than these 2 guys are. The only thing he gains by killing these guys is he gets a couple of victory points, and he screws me out of getting 400. It just really rubbed me the wrong way, and it really seemed to me as a poor sports move given the mentality of the tournament, and was really against the tournament ideals. So, I mean, for the most part, it was a fun game, but this just really soured me to the whole experience of this game. There was absolutely no reason for him to do that. In my turn, my BSB charged into his Lead Belchers with his Tyrant. We swung, basically, I was in a challenge with his Tyrant. I tried to kill him, I didn't, and that was the end of the game. So at the end of the game, I got like 2,500 victory points. My opponent got a little bit more than me. Not much. We were both kind of around the similar level at the end of the game. But yeah, so there was that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the report. I post any comments or questions below. Tell me if you like the format of the tournament report here. And anyway, I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.